Probably the most basic thing we can start with is wedging. I'm going to show you how to make a ram's head wedge. So when you start, you're just going to take the clay up and start pushing at a 45-degree angle this way towards the table. And as you push, notice how the clay is starting to turn. You're not going to push too hard, but just very subtle movements. So I push once, I bring it up to the head, push again, and I just keep doing that motion. And as I do it, you can see there's kind of like this head that develops. And as I continue, you get what looks kind of like a ram's head. So all I'm doing is I'm pushing the clay 45-degree angle that way, and then bringing it back up onto this tip. See, the tip here, and I'm pushing. And all that's really happening is this clay right here is being transferred from the inside and it's spiraling outward. And as I do this, the clay that's in the very middle here is spiraling all the way out. So for throwing, you want to do this about 100 times to get all the air bubbles out. And the other thing that this does is it gets all the clay particles going in the right direction. I'm going to turn so you can see the front view. And you also want to do this on a very stable table, which I do not have in my studio. So I'm using this Rubbermaid, pretty clunky table that's obviously shaking a lot. But you're going to continue to see this form. If you for some reason start to twist your hands up like this, you'll get what I like to call a hot dog. And you won't be able to do too much of this because what's going to happen is that it starts to turn into a tube like this, which isn't very productive. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to, as you're wedging, rotate it and move it into a different direction and start wedging it this way. Because that's going to stop the spiral motion that you're forming when you're actually wedging, and it's going to create some sort of weird like thing so that when you're on the wheel, you're going to be fighting against yourself instead of actually getting those particles in the right direction. So if this happens, just push the two ends in, like so, and then start wedging again, making sure you keep your hands like this and pushing at a 45-degree angle outward. The other problem people do is they rotate their hands up and they start trying to move the clay this way with their hands. I like to call it making ovaries, because what they do is they twist, and as they twist you get this shape. See, ovaries? And then what that does is it stresses the clay right here, and that's not going to help you throw either, because you're going to get a big piece of clay come off this side probably when you're throwing. So you just need to, instead of rotating your hands, you're just using your whole body, and your hands are doing this motion. Watch. My hands aren't twisting, the clay is twisting in my hands. It's rotating up. See that? I just hold it on the sides and I rotate up, keeping my hands cupped around. And then when you're ready to throw, you just start pulling it and twisting it into a cone shape. And then all this clay just gets pounded down, and you can rotate it around until you have something that looks pretty much like a cone. Then you're ready to throw.